The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces. All in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Oh, I was scared to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes. Rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes.
So then over here?
For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
Anytime you're ready.
Well, let me just introduce Cisco. Your last name?
Manessis.
Manessis.
Nice Portuguese name. Not too many Portuguese here in Lowell.
Yes. And I got Cisco's information and contact number from Gene Novak, who had, I guess he got you to do a seminar with the western part of the state.
Yeah, we're doing seminars for all the associations this year. Probably our second or third time we've done shows with him on this matter.
And Gene was going to be here, raved about it. It's perfect for us. So we scheduled, he agreed to come in at no charge, just for some donuts.
Coffee and donuts, you have to have a coffee to get the donuts.
And I got coffee too. And so basically, I'm Robert. I'm the Commissioner. I'll let everybody introduce themselves. I invited a few people. Gene, I think, said he was coming too.
Yeah, I spoke briefly with this morning. I think he's on his way.
But I'll let everybody introduce themselves just so you know who's here.
Sean J.
Sean?
I am Mark Mitchell Swan.
Mark?
Ray Costello, the Plans Examiner.
Ray?
Dave Fuller, Building Inspector.
I'm Roger Holden from the Unbalanced Ladders Project Manager.
Perfect.
And Dan Price with Lowell Fire Training Division.
There's not a test later on, just remember all your names, but if I get your cards, I'll be able to send you a lot of stuff in the future as things come aboard. I'll tell you a little bit about what we're doing here. This is basically a nationwide problem that is not only specific to Massachusetts. You got any industrialized city, from here to Seattle to LA, Chicago to Texas, everybody mirrors themselves exactly. Some are just a little older, some have just been at it longer than others. So fire escapes first came into play in probably Washington, D.C., New York. In the 1850s, 1860s, they started building these things. But a majority of all the fire escapes came into play really in the 1900s. So 1900s till about 1930s, when they had the Uniform Building Code, finally somebody said up, you know what, this is just not working out. These things sitting outside, catching rain, catching snow, doesn't make any sense. Let's change the laws and let's make it so that from now on you can't build any new fire escapes. Let's make everybody build a second means of egress inside your building where it's nice and warm and toasty. And then they said at that time, hey, what's going to happen with all these existing fire escapes that are on all these buildings that we built? They said, you know what, in another 50, 75 years, all these buildings are coming down. We're going to be, the George Jetsons of the world, and you're not going to even need any of these fire escapes. But along the way, somebody invented duct tape, bubble gum, and paper clips. And they kept all these buildings together somehow, and guess what's the main means of egress? It's the fire escapes that were still on there. Then everybody started taking all these beautiful mansions and these beautiful homes that were monsters because everybody needed 6,800 square feet. And they started turning them into 3 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, 27 bedrooms, depending on how you slice and dice the unit. And what was the answer to that mansion that had a central staircase? So fire escape on this side and a fire escape on this side. So just to avoid a lot of confusion, a lot of people say, you can't build new fire escapes. And that's a correct statement. If you're digging a hole in the ground and building a brand new building, you can never build a brand new fire escape anywhere in the United States. What about pre-existing non-conforming conditions? Oh, you can build fire escapes till the day you die. So with that being said, fire escapes are sticking around. They are we call them the bastard child of egress. Left outside, you can inspect that building. You will shut a building down, but not usually because the fire escape has rotten treads. You'll shut it down because some button doesn't work, or some light doesn't turn on, or some bell doesn't go off. But you'll walk right by the fire escape because it's the bastard child of egress. It's that homeless person that lives, underneath a rock somewhere, and you kind of look that other way. So with that being said, it all really started here for Massachusetts. The change came in around '72. You remember the fire down in Marlborough Street that there was a collapse and somebody had died. I'm going to show you that photograph. It's actually one of the photographs featured on the back of the card. So if you take a look at your card and just keep that in your pocket, next time somebody's yelling and screaming and bitching about their fire escape, say, hey, this is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid killing the tenant.
Wow, they got the people actually falling?
Yeah, that happened on Marlborough Street by the Herald reporter. That's a Pulitzer Prize-winning photograph.
Those people died?
The woman died. The fireman, with one hand, saved himself. And the girl survived. She was 8 years old. Was the niece. Now, with that, what you're basically looking at, what you don't see in that picture, is the landlord. Now, it'd be a great law in the United States if all landlords have to collect their rent through the fire escape, taped to the side windows. Imagine that law. Because we wouldn't even have this meeting today. So yeah, you get your rent. It's right up there. Go get it. So, with that being said, in '72, the law was like it is in many states. There's a state law, fire law, fire codes, and building codes. Housing codes, they all say one thing in one paragraph. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. They give you no explanation how to inspect it. They give you no explanation how to repair it. They give you no guidelines of any kind, because back in 1930, all the knowledge that they had for fire escape building, because all the factories that built everything out, Chicago, New York, and LA, and every one of them shut down when the law changed to say no new fire escapes. So they took all that knowledge, because somebody said these buildings ain't going to be around anymore, and there was nothing to fix at that time because they're freshly minted fire escapes. They just threw it all in the trash. So a lot of the information we have today, I'm going to share with you, had to be reinvented from just thinking about it, because it didn't exist. You can go searching on the great World Wide Web, you're not going to find anything other than a paragraph that says must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So with that, we went out and as we started inspecting, our company has an office in Boston and an office in LA, and we get the privilege, and we're probably the only company in the nation that has ever crisscrossed the country. So you will see fire escapes here from California, Seattle, LA, and I teach classes nationwide. And I do teach a continuing education class in New Jersey for the entire state of New Jersey through Kane University. And that's for continuing ed credit. So whenever I do classes like I've been doing this whole month I got about 6 here in Massachusetts, 6 to 8 that include the housing authority, the departments of associations, and we're also doing New Hampshire, Rhode Island. But I just came 2 weeks ago. I was in Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Tacoma, LA, and Houston, teaching the very same class. So this is not an issue right here. But you guys remember the Station Knife fire? When that occurred, Hank Philippi Ryan, anybody ever met Hank Philippi Ryan? Yay high? She was, her producers wanted to do a story on fire escapes, that in case of fire, you got a fire escape to use. And little did she know when they just caught us by luck. I said, hey, do you know that a majority of the fire escapes that I inspect, at least 75+% of everything I inspect fails inspection. At least 25 to 50% of everything I inspect nationwide has life safety issues immediately on the fire escape. She goes, no, I don't believe it, because we have this law that says every 5 years. And by the way, after that collapse, instead of it being must be maintained at all times, that's when they applied the 5-year rule. So throughout the country, there's 5-year rules, and throughout the country, the majority of this keep it maintained at all times. Which means what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke and nobody knows about it, don't go looking for trouble. So it's sort of, this thing just sort of fed on itself. So I had Hank Philippi Ryan, and she goes, I want to do a story. I said, okay. And she wanted to do a 1-minute piece on fire escapes. So I brought it down to the theater district. I gave her a 15-minute class on how to inspect fire escapes. And then I let her go. And this is what she came up with. And this was probably back in 2003 to 2005. I got to get back to the date when she did this, but... Oh.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened fate.
Sometimes it's got a load of seconds. Bear with me. Just give it a second to load. This is technology. It's great when it works.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces. All in a firefighter's line of duty.
Let's see if my wireless is taking this off the phone here. Just going to let it load a little bit just before and I'll start it. But basically what she did is after the training of going downtown, then she took the trip and she went south, east, and west. And she went north also, and she went to a bunch of cities and started looking at fire escapes. So from that, she got this report that she put out, and then she started making noise in the States.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces. All in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him.
Of course, escaped to death.
But the fire escape that broke underneath him.
The ram just came away from the building.
And our investigation found a cross-message.
You need that internet, that free internet here. She's just not connected. But I'm going to let this load for a second. And as soon as I get enough bar in front of me, I'll replay it. But let's take a look at some of the things that we've done ever since that came across. Let's start. We're going to talk about what we're going to be talking about today and some of the things that we've been offering nationwide. First of all, a couple of things that weren't even available out there. confidence test. Do you believe that in the entire United States there is no fire escapes confidence test? An actual checklist of things to look for when you're inspecting a fire escape, so that some engineer or any inspector can sort of, use this as a guideline. Oh, this city official is looking for this sort of guidelines to inspect the fire escape. In Massachusetts, all you need is, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, the fire escape is in conformity with the building code. And then you can put disclaimers at the bottom. This doesn't include anything I didn't see and anything I didn't look for. So with those disclaimers, you basically have what's been happening here for many, many years. And it took 75 years to go wrong here, so don't think that this is just, listen, we're not blaming inspectors as far as engineers, structural. We're going to blame the building inspectors. We're going to blame the structural engineers, and we're going to blame the vendors. And I've been playing all three, so I know what's going on out there that has been done. And I always use the example of, I'm that car thief that the cops bring in. I tell them how to keep your car safe, because I've broken into enough cars. So I'm going to share a lot of information with you on what happened here with everybody sort of being helpful. In the building inspector side, when you guys write a violation, who's like I write a violation for the past 75 years? You may be doing it today, or you've done it for the past 75 years. You go by a fire escape, you see something wrong with it, you say? Scrape and paint. So the owner who just got your violation gets a scrape and paint violation in his hand. You know who he calls first? Joe the painter. Joe the painter comes out on a typical 5-story fire escape that has, full of stairs plus a cantilever at the bottom, very complex system, and says, how much to paint this? Because I got a violation that I got here from Bob. Goes up, looks at it, walks it, $2,000. Really? $2,000? Yeah. And oh, by the way, you got a couple of loose treads up there that you got to take care of so that my guys don't get hurt. Goes, oh, no problem. I'll call the local ironwork guy and have him come out here and look at this. So he calls the local ironwork guy, and the local ironwork guy comes out and says, yeah, let me walk in. He goes upstairs and he says, oh my God, that's just those 2 treads, man. You got the whole thing is rotten and falling apart. He goes, really? How much is it to fix? Because I need the guys who's going to paint it. No, he goes, oh, I can paint it. I fix it and I paint it, because I was trying to steal this guy's paint job. He goes, oh, $20,000. I'll fix this whole fire escape, refurbish it, and paint it. $20,000. He goes, okay, thank you. So he's got 2 bids. He's got Bob's. He goes back and reads his thing, and he starts becoming a lawyer all of a sudden. He goes, what did this guy say for me to do? Scrape it and paint it. So he goes, Joe, the painter, gets the job. And then when Joe gets the job, he goes, hey, Joe, those 2 treads, you think you can fix those? What do you think Joe's going to say? Sure. So Joe gets Home Depot something or other, and he just fixes those 2 bolts. Tells his guys about the other loose bolts, the other loose treads. What do? Be careful. Hope nothing happens. Now, here's the best part. We're going to fix this fire escape because there's scraping and painting happening. Is there any repair going on? So do I need a permit to scrape and paint your fire escape? So right now, I'm under the radar. I get under the radar, I'm scraping and painting. If anybody catches me if you walk in, I say, dude, scrape and paint. That's what the owner told me. Oh yeah, it looks like you're changing some bolts. Yeah, a couple 200. But, that's how everybody's been doing. So anything that you have to remember, the first defense that we're going to need on anytime you get a fire escape that's being touched, where's the repair permit? I'm painting it. Okay, so it's a $10,000 job, $7,000 is repairs, $3,000 is paint? Yeah, I need a $7,000 permit. That's going to put one more set of eyeballs on the fire escape. You get a certificate that came in the mail from Joe Engineering, and it says the fire escape is fine now. Say, Joe, who did the work? You have to go back and find out who did the work and say, I want that guy to pull a permit, and you need to do an inspection. We're going to talk about what to look for when things are bad. So this thing is pretty much, let me see if we can play the continuation of this.
Massachusetts, more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So that are prepared? For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at the...
Was that you?
Yeah, it's my younger, better-looking brother.
How long ago was this done?
I believe this is 2003 that we did this. Well, when was the Station 9 fire? It was right after. Station 9 fire was
6 or 7
Yeah,
years
it was right after, in the same year that. I apologize. This thing looks. It says it's up to speed, but then all of a sudden Well, we'll get through the video. So with that, And I apologize for the connection, but if we get, Katie, you want to go see the office and see if they have the wireless password? Because if that's the case, then we'll probably get in, but otherwise I just got to keep letting it load. I'm using my phone to basically use it as a wireless, and she may be slow as molasses for some reason. So with that, what we did is we started, right after that class, we started teaching the associations. And we started bringing the awareness, because it's actually two players. And the players are the fire departments and the building departments. About 40 states, the fire department runs everything. The building department build things, but then the guys that keep watching it right after the fact is always the fire department. So we have a majority of our trainings nationwide is the fire departments. In states, which is about 10 of them, that have building departments running the maintenance side of things, we do these same classes. So all the associations here, I've done classes all the way up to, even out in Amherst, we did a class there for the regional, but we've done it, we just said yesterday we were in Taunton. 2 weeks ago we were in Westboro, and next week we're actually going to be in Northampton. And we're also going to be down teaching the housing department in Chinatown, the entire Boston Housing Authority. We're teaching them down there on a one-day class, but 2 classes split during the day. So with that, what did we come up with that we found? We found that not only are we having problems here that nobody's watching, because you guys are writing scrape and paint violations, so you can't write them anymore. You have to write repair, paint, test. And that immediately eliminates the paint word. Repair, then paint it, then test it. And the test it is the word that's in your code. All fire escapes must be certified and or tested. The word test in our code, 101.3, is load test. And if I can't certify, my job is to make you not load test a fire escape, but give you enough information to prove to you that in lieu of a load test, which is what the rest of the country does, we've certified and repaired this fire escape. Now, 25 or 50 years ago, there wasn't a major issue about all the bolts and all the rivets. But we're looking at fire escapes that if they have square head bolts, they're 50 to 75 plus years old. If they have rivets on them, they're 75 plus years old. Now, the only way to certify that fire escape is one of 2 ways. I don't care how pristine your square bolt and your rivet is. The only true test to that'll make the tenant safe and the fireman safe, is a load test. But they're expensive. I'm going to walk through a load test with you, and I'll show you how expensive moving weights around. But I'm going to show you that in the certified repair, in lieu of a load test, is there anything else that can be done to guarantee and keep that perfectly good to excellent rivet or bolt? And the answer is yes. You back it up with another bolt, just drill a hole next to the same exact bolt with another bolt there, which is a fresh new bolt from today. Or sometimes it's faster and cheaper to just cut that old bolt or impact on it right out of there and drop a new bolt right in there. You've just certified that fire escape in lieu of a load test. And then we speak with the commission and say, listen, this fire escape has been refurbished in lieu of a load test, or do you still want to order a load test? And
So
she'll say,
steel is reasonably intact still.
yes, and this is assuming all the steel is still
You
reasonable.
told me, I'd like you to talk about it, because we're all familiar with it, is the fire escape on the Sun Building.
Yeah.
That is a nightmare. I don't think it's ever been maintained.
Yeah, I walked it. It's got more rust in every joint and every connection. And at the time when I looked at it, which is probably 5 years ago, the main issue is that they had done something on the inside to satisfy, because it was a housing.
Well, it's not an apartment building.
Yes.
They have a second, but we haven't given the permission to take it down.
Yeah.
Only it has to stay.
Yeah, what I was told is that the historical committee, or better known as the historical committee.
No, they're not holding it up.
Well, that's what they was 5 years ago. And they said, they wanted to stay because it's part of the building. And we said, well, in order for you to keep it just from falling apart, there's a lot of things you need to do. So if the firemen are never going to use it, you got to remove certain components so that they can never get access. They have to put all kinds of signage that's saying this thing is decorative, not structural. And then you have to start looking at it, because it'll keep eating itself. One thing, if you leave rust in all these joints, there's no guaranteed way to keep it from falling apart. Aside from that, we also told them that if you're going to keep this as a decoration, you got to block all the windows on the inside. And if you don't want to lose the light, you don't have to physically block it, but you can just put mesh or something decorative or bars that let the sun come in. But these people will never jump on those fire escapes as a piece of egress.
I said that if you go in and you look, there should be one that says free Wi-Fi, and then you have to create an account.
Oh, we'll just let it. We'll just let it keep, as they say, pumping along. But let's just see if I can reload. We'll let it reload, and then as it reloads, I'll videos here. There's about 400 videos nationwide. So to train your inspectors, I've got videos here that are 3 to 5 minutes long of typical fire escapes all around the country, including Massachusetts, and it tells you how to start inspecting fire escapes by looking out a window or down from the street. The Westboro inspection, we actually walked Gene Novak right after the class, and we walked around a downtown building that had about 4 fire escapes, and that's on there also. So you can just watch videos and then just have a discussion with your inspector. So usually we do a downtown walk around right after one of these classes. But let me just go over the things that we've done, that we have. This is the story that we talked about on that, so you can read about who the fireman was and the woman. But the woman did die. The girl survived. She was 8 at the time. He hung on with one hand. Marlborough Street. Credentials. One of the things you're going to want every time somebody inspects in your area, the law is very simple. Structural engineers are and or others acceptable to the building official. So anybody that wants to inspect in your area, including structural engineers, have to give you something of it in the credentials. And that includes inspection criteria and how they intend to inspect. So everybody that's going to inspect, you're going to say, hey, I need for my file an example of your inspection criteria, whether you're a structural engineer or whether you're a G3 guy out of Boston. But let me tell you, the only 2 licenses in the whole country. You have a G3 license out of Boston, which is put out by the building department, and we have some issues with the G3 license, which I hold, in that sometimes we are judge and jury. So you can inspect and fix your own fire escapes, and that causes some conflicts at times. And believe me, if there's a way to save a penny, it's good to be the judge and the jury, hold all the guns and hold all the bullets, and never pull a permit. So think about that, how much money you can make by basically just you can wrong as many people as you wish because there's nobody checking. And of course I can beat anybody's price because I'm selling repairs versus paint jobs. Guess who wins? So with that, the second license is out of LA. LA is put out by Reg 4. Reg 4 is basically they control everybody that has anything to do with fire protection. Sprinklers, alarms. So if you want to copy a system, go call, we'll put you in contact with Patrick Killian, and again, it's fire department run over there. And everybody there must be licensed. It's a 3-year program. You got to pay $1,000 to get a license, a 100-question test. Meet with a fire marshal, tell him your spiel and on how good you are at what you do. Then he walks you out to the field and makes you prove to him that he knows what he's doing. Then you have to fill out their paperwork to basically bring a report. So if you want to copy a great system, I think LA has the best, what's called Regulation 4, fire protection. So instead of reinventing the wheel, just go get a copy of it. Nice excuse to go to LA and copy. But otherwise, a lot of this stuff is online. These confidence tests are online right now in in Seattle, in Tacoma, because they took our course and they adopted our system. And but this is us teaching classes nationwide, including some of the building departments, fire department, and housing departments right here. And this is right here in Boston. This is in Seattle. This is in Portland, Oregon. This is in New York, New Jersey, Newark. But these are the 2 licenses. So if I was going to try to do some inspections here, my first job is to come to the commission and send my credentials. Hey, here's the only 2 licenses out there. I currently have them. My inspectors have them. Can I inspect? Otherwise, no, I want a structural engineer. Okay, I have them too on my staff. For example, you can inspect a fire escape in Boston with a G3 license, but you go to Chelsea, they won't take it. So it's a Boston license. It's not a state license, the G3. And a G3 license, just so you guys know, if any of you do ornamental ironwork such as railings and window guards, you now have this special little side license that says you can inspect fire escapes for a fee and fix fire escapes for a fee. Even though you have you probably don't have any experience on them. You'll trip into them, you'll fall into them. We've asked that license be reviewed and that somebody makes those licenses a G3-F, which indicates that I've trained for the fire escape and I've met the 3 board members to give another license. Or I've asked for an F3 license instead of a G3, because G3 is ornamental ironworks. It shouldn't be a fire escape, but it currently is. But some cities in and around will not accept a G3 license. They can accept a G3 license if they come up here and they go out of their way to prove to him that they have all the expertise. They know how to build them, they know how to fix them, and once that's the case, on a case-by-case basis, you can have a list of who's qualified and who's not. Let's take a look at the next thing that we have. Tags. In Seattle, right? Just like an elevator. Well, Seattle had one of the worst inspection regimes, I think, because you could literally self-inspect as per the code, your own fire escape. 3 or 4 years ago, 3 people fell to the floor from a 3rd floor on a fire escape that was just lag molded into the building. They brought me in, we helped them out, we suggested our confidence test, we suggested different things out there, and what they came up with, they adopted one of our systems. They were already tagging fire escapes with a very small tag, only one tag, it was a little red tag. But now they basically have a tag now that's 19 inches wide, 11 inches high, It's white for passing, it's yellow for deficient, and it's red. But in Seattle and Tacoma, you must tag every fire escape. So think about it. It took 75 years for you guys to get it this bad. It's not going to take 75 days for us to fix this. But over the next 3 to 5 years, what we recommend is you just have an ordinance that says every fire escape must have a tag. And on your day-to-day activities, you just go around and you're doing inspections this, inspections that. You just basically make sure that every fire escape that you identify, you just identify it. And your own inspectors only put out yellows and reds. A yellow is just say, I found it, I have an address now, and you ask the guy, do you have a current certificate? No, then it's an automatic yellow. And it says right on there what to do. Go get it inspected and to turn it into a white. Now that can stay there for a month, or a year, 5 years, or 10. The meter's running. Fees, penalties, and all kinds of things can be attached to the non-compliance of that. Okay? Now, with that, you get the second half is when I get called for somebody that says, I got a yellow and I need a thing inspected. We show up. We don't take your tag stays. That's for the courts and whatever you guys are going to go through with that guy. We put our tag right next to it. So in the body over here, instead of having your city information, we have the inspector's information, or the engineering company's information. And that can be nicely done, or it can just be handwritten in there that it's Joe Engineering and his phone number. And it says, when the thing was inspected, did it pass it or fail, and then he fills out a card next to it and then puts a report to you. So imagine now, this is for these guys. If you get every fire escape identified right now and they had a yellow, a red, or a white, in the middle of the night when these guys are showing up at our fire escape, they don't care whether it's good or bad. They just want to know whether they can get on it. Because he knows, and we've talked with them, and when we're in a room, that he's not the only guy in the room. We basically say, but a lot of the gray-haired guys tell the the black-haired guys, in case of fire, don't use the... Okay? Now, is that word being published in the Lowell Gazette, and all the tenants know about this, and right? So here's these guys when in the first 2 to 5 minutes, where smoke kills everybody, they got to get into a building or get people out of a building or do something with the people. The first fear they have running down the alleyway is whether the fire escape is going to hold their bodies. So they wait for ladders, they wait for trucks to basically penetrate buildings. So imagine right now, as the first fix, you just have a local ordinance that says, I want every fire escape tagged, regardless of condition. Now these guys in the middle of the night, in a smoky situation, they're running out and boom, it's a white one. He doesn't run for a ladder, doesn't run for anything. He just jumps on it, breaks windows, pulls people out, done. He gets onto a yellow one, a red one. He's going to think, he's going to do an assessment, but he's already afraid of the yellows and the reds, and he has to make, life and death decisions right there. But immediately, the first people you help is these guys. The second people you help is the guy paying a rent. I'm sitting in my Lowell apartment, I'm looking out my window, I got this yellow tag, I'm like, what the hell is this? I go out and investigate, read it, and says, this thing's not working. I said, wait, my rent is good. Fire escape is bad. It's my only means out. My kids sleep in this room. I'm holding my rent check. You're going to get a little bit of pushback from the very people who say, hey, if I don't got water, heating, and the second means of egress, I'm not going to pay my rent. So there's a little bit of a stimulus to get the fire escapes going. If it's a red, you're going to vacate the building anyway. A couple of quick fixes for the fire escape, in case the fire escape is very bad. You order scaffolding in lieu of a fire escape. Scaffolding with full stairs. So in case you ever get into a very bad situation and the owners, blah, 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 whatever, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month will put a full set of stairs of scaffolding on any building and, facing whatever windows needs to be. The next thing we have, confidence tests. These are confidence tests right here. And these confidence tests basically is a final exam for an engineer. If you read some of these questions are pretty weighty. They don't ask you what's your opinion. They ask you, make this statement. Every connection on the fire escape is free of all internal rust. Every visible and invisible connection I have looked for, and I have either nullified, verified, or duplicated that connection. And that's how I achieve the word guaranteed certification. You'll never see the word guaranteed, but will you allow certified repairs to be as close to the word guaranteed as possible in lieu of a load test? So that's all. We're looking for a certification on something that's 75, and you only have two choices to tell me that something old is good. Load test it at extremes, with extremes amount of money. I'll take that same amount of money and change bolts and back things up. And what are we going to back up, which I'll show you? Supports and staircases. Everything else, that's the major structural. The minor structural is just decorative. You don't have to back those up. If those are good conditions, they'll stay, because those are not going to hurt anybody. Let's see if she'll finally play, and I hope she'll play.
smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
When it ran and just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So that over here, for months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Right.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one, a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes.
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
Not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track. How can they get away with that?
I guess the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this?
No, but when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to an...
Any idea how many fire escapes there are in Lowell?
Well, no idea. But we've been worried about it for a while. You should be worried about it too.
Does balconies fall under the same?
Fire balconies, sure. Anybody can go out in a fire.
Inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something.
Was there any big uptick in inspections after this report? Never really.
So let me tell you what, and I can't say no, let me tell you what the automatic was that came from this activity. Because, and I'm going to share that with you, what you have to do. Hopefully this will just click in and finish the
These
story.
forms, Cisco, can we get these online so we can log on to the city of Lowell?
Well, we do that. I have an example on there, and if I may borrow one of your sheets, if I may, I think you have one right there, though, the one sheet, the white sheet below. This is the pilot program that we did for Framingham. So, again, it still shows the 1028.3, but let me read you the code, and I believe, and Kate, you have some of those, we can pass them over here. So we did this for Framingham, so this is something that we would do for City of Lowell, or we do this for you. Or we send this PDF, or if you have somebody that works with PDF, not PDF, Photoshop, they can just, but we usually send you these in blanks. We just make sure that these are standard. You can use it as industry standard guidelines, but let me tell you what 1028.3, which is now 101.3, it says, testing and certification. all exterior bridges, steel or wooden stairways. Okay, have we mentioned fire escapes yet? No. So again, all exterior bridges, steel or wooden stairways. They don't even mention cement stairways, but because they should be inclusive in there, but fire escapes, egress balconies shall be examined. Egress balconies, what are those? Those are Romeo and Juliet balconies. Anything that a fireman will use to get to people, or people will wait for a fireman to get them. So the code is very clear. What they focus 101 on is constantly fire escapes, but in actuality, it's all exterior steel or wooden stairways. So all these buildings, these row houses, these apartment complexes that have wooden porches with staircases on the back is a fire escape. But they call it, but the law is very great here. It covers everything. And it's going to be checked for adequacy every 5 years by a Massachusetts registered professional engineer, doesn't even say structural, professional engineer, or others qualified and acceptable to the building official. Said
It would be
engineer...
an iron work with a license.
See?
So it would be an iron work.
It can be. The only problem is that it's where judge and jury and I'll never pull a permit. But now that you're going to put some rules out, the answer is yes. So that's why in our company we have to split into two. We have an inspections division, we call it fire escape engineers, and we have a service division called fire escape services. Because the way this is going, it's very difficult to unblur the line. So we can inspect, and we inspect fire escape we give the clients all their information. They ship it out and they shop it around. If they want us to do the job, then it has to be done by fire escape services. And a lot of times when we're doing the job on the service side, we have to hire an independent engineer on the behalf of the client to basically sign off on our work so that we don't have any
Let me
conflicts.
ask you something, and you've got experiences you referred to. Why does the city need to have an ordinance when it's already in the building?
What they don't have in the ordinance is tags. What you don't have in the ordinance is confidence testing. What you don't have in the ordinance is a standard for repairs, how to repair things. So you have an example. Right now, there's no requirement that every fire escape be tagged like an elevator. So you have to do a local ordinance. Or we could take a long walk and start pushing boulders up a hill with our noses and let the state do this and then make everybody do it. 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years from now.
Well, you've worked with the state, so is there something?
I haven't worked with the state. I've worked with everybody, but there's just a lot more things on the plate, on everybody's plates beside this. But on the grassroots level, one city at a time, this is where nationwide I've had all my success. Seattle adopted this entire system, not the state of Washington. Right now we're in Washington, we're in Portland, Oregon, doing their study, and the state wants to do something. You know what their biggest problem right now is? The language. What language will they allow to go to the state but then now everybody's got an opinion on how you can't write it too strong. So we say, what we're doing in Portland, and I just came from there 3 weeks ago. The way to do it is you do it on a grassroots level. You let the state write the vague,
Do you have can you send me a list, I don't expect you to do it now, of cities that have adopted this ordinance so I can copy the
Sure. Seattle, Tacoma, Portland. We'll give you the names and contact numbers so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just
Exactly.
copy.
Reinvent the wheel.
But basically what we've said to them is on a grassroots level, for example, if you want to get this as an industry standard, there's several ways. One is, where's the industry? Well, it doesn't exist. So we're starting the Fire Escape Association. Just to create an industry standard, you have to have an association. So we're starting that as of 2012 will be an industry standard because we're going to house our stuff there. But if you take any of my stuff and you say, we have an informational bulletin that we have here, and just call it an informational bulletin so that as a reference, as per industry standards, all inspections should be done using this standard. Well, this pamphlet I just gave you is industry standard. So now you don't say, well, you got to do it this way. If you want to do it this way, you can say, we have an ordinance. So you say, Cisco, I want you to design a confidence test for us. So I said, well, why? Why don't you just go to Seattle.org, go on their website on the fire prevention, and download their PDF and or Word document, and that's what it has right here. And then just take their name off the top, put your name at the top. Now you're done. So there's an industry standard copied by somebody, and they got it on the internet already. So as we start putting these either in informational bulletins or as ordinances, so an ordinance on your end would be you saying, you know what, Cisco, we are going to tag every fire escape. Lowell wants every fire escape with a tag of some kind, an industry standard tag. Boom. You can't get that from the state telling Lowell to do it, but you can do it as an ordinance. Every fire escape must have a confidence test, not a opinion letter from an engineer. And copy any industry standard such as, and you can use the word, such as Seattle, Tacoma, Fort Lee, New Jersey, you just rattle off a bunch of other cities that have taken it and say, and it's an industry standard questionnaire. It's nothing more than that. So that's where the ordinance is. On the fire departments, a lot of times it's an administrative rule. It's an administrative change. So the ordinance is on the building department side to the city council, but you guys have an administrative rule change, right? Something like that?
I'm not sure. I've been on fire trucks most of my career.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The ordinance or the administrative rule change is how they basically just let it on the grassroots level. So that's how it is. So yes, I've spoken with many people. I've put the word out, but it's, one man waving a flag sometimes gets shot in the head. But tags, they're right here. Now, so now the confidence tests, which we're going to go into. I'm sorry, let me give you back this. Sorry. And this is the confidence test that we have, including what Tacoma did. They have a yearly confidence test. So they not only do the 5-year, they make the owners do a walkthrough and they ask 3 simple questions. So this scares the hell out of a lot of engineers. The next page I'm going to be talking about throughout is industry standard repairs. How to fix a fire escape. They're here. It's simpler than you may think. We'll cover it. Industry standard designs of how fire escapes are made. 99.9% of all the fire escapes fall into this category, which we're going to go over today. And then I also go into, if you're going to draw a new one, I'll show you how to draw new ones that include cantilevers, spirals, ladders, so that, yes, they can be designed, they're easy to build, they're not big monstrosities. And the last thing we're going to be covering with you guys is that with today's technology, every engineer, anybody inspecting your city is going to give you photographs. They don't have to be pretty and done like this. We enjoy making it a very pretty presentation. Dude, 9 per page off of digital cameras. They print 9 per page, 4 per page. Send that to your inspector so your inspector doesn't have to go across town to see how bad things are. You've given him, either through digital email or a report, you've given him photocopies of what's wrong. And there it is. And then the last thing. Ready? EPA. You guys are familiar with the renovator situation here, right? You guys are right on top of that stuff, right? All fire escapes older than 1978 are presumed to have lead. So what can't you do on them anymore? Can you put a flame on them? Can you put flame on lead? So does that mean you can use a welding rod on these fire escapes? Well, here's the beauty. 99.9% of all the fire escapes made in the United States are bolted and or riveted connections. They're not welded, because welded fire escapes tear apart. So, but guess what guys have been fixing the fire escapes without any fire permits? They leave the rust in the connection. They've been welding these things shut. A year later, they snap, because anybody knows you let rust continue growing, it just snaps the weld from yesterday. And what happens is now you can't burn them. They're supposed to be rebolted anyway, so this is really not going to be a big issue. The big issue with this is that anybody that needs to touch fire escapes must have a renovator's license. Well, that's on the confidence. On the confidence test, it asks for your renovator's license. And all that means is that the renovator knows how to wear the little white suit, knows how to put the plastic down, collect all the chips, close all the windows, identify everybody in the building to make sure we're working with lead, collect that, put that in the trash. So these are the things that we've been working on that we're going to cover today. So this is your first manual. We're going to be putting a manual together, 1 to 2 inches, that you're going to put in your, in your thing there. It's going to have the CDs of the classes that we have like this. We have about 500 videos online that you can go see. So right after this one, you're probably going to want to go to look at these videos. I'm only going to play a couple minutes of it, and because the internet connection is pretty bad. And this one is, whenever we can capture an official, we capture building inspectors and fire marshals and training officers all the time, but last 2 weeks ago, we caught Gene by surprise, and so with that, we basically did a training class with him. So if you go online, and again, today's just a horrible day for connection, must be the weather, but this is like a class when I'm actually going to be showing Gene here, and he has no choice but to say yes, 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 because we're sort of repeating everything we talked about in class. You know what I'm saying? So let's. I'm going to start the class. And the slideshow, and then we'll get back to slides, and hopefully by then I'll be able to start an account. So, and I'll just fly through these, and again, open questions, anybody agrees or disagrees, throw it out there. So this is what happened with that fireman in 72, and right after the fall and the death, usually takes the death of the fireman, takes the death of the person, everybody wants to do something about it. It went from all fire escapes must be maintained at all times They changed the law in Massachusetts to include 1028.3, which says you must prove that now every 5 years. So we did the Channel 7 News piece already. Let's talk about live load testing. That's what everybody's been doing. Every time you guys walk out on a fire escape, check a fire escape, you're doing a live load test. So we're going to teach you never to walk on a fire escape again. But right from a window, you're going to look at a couple things. You're going to look at the age. You're going to look for two things. It must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. Painted is simple. Look out. Is it rusty? You've got enough to write a violation. Go ahead.
Before I begin, an important question. Distinction between a place where people sleep and a business that has fire escape. We have a lot of buildings that are half empty. Nobody sleeps there, but it's a business.
Yeah.
So I would assume that we don't have to be as adamant, or is it all the same?
Fire
escape,
well, ask him, whether he's saving a residence or saving a commercial building, they're asked to jump in a building the same way. And then at the same time, when all hell breaks loose, guess what this guy jumps out a window on and wants to have below his feet when he gets on the other side of that window.
I see. Yeah.
But here's another thing, and this is very important, and he'll appreciate this. There's a word they use a lot called surround and drown. So give me a 5-story building that the owner doesn't give a shit, and they only have things on the bottom floor. Then we put signage on it. This fire escape is not structural all around. Everybody who shows up says, what do you do with that building? You get whatever you can do on the first floor, but you surround and drown. You just fill it with water. It's a bathtub. You put it out that way, right? Surround and drown. Don't get on it. So a lot of these downtowns, yes. But I will also talk to you about a situation. Let's talk about somebody who's got a big building downtown. He's got a $50,000 problem, and he just doesn't have the money. You can actually make the fire escape functional until such time that structural repair. So you don't remove your violation. We're going to go into more detail about that later. But I can make a fire escape functional where the rust still stays there, but I put in all new bolting and whatever. The owner still assumes all the liability. The engineer and the vending company assumes no liability. It's like it's a Band-Aid. It's triage on the battlefield. You haven't removed your violation, but now the owner's got 3 months, 6 months, a year to basically stretch out his payments or work with the vendor who's going to repair it over a 12-month period. But the first thing is he spent $15,000 to make it functional so that tenants and firemen can utilize it in case of an emergency. But it has all the tags, it has all the, it's a yellow card. It's not a white one, it's a yellow. And you guys basically stay on top, and as long as the owner's making an effort to get the problem resolved.
Where do you put these tags so that an emergency...
7 to 10 feet from the ground, permanently affixed to the fire escape or on the building.
So it's a waterproof installation?
Oh yeah, it's encapsulated plastic. I'll show you something. This is live load testing.
Yeah.
This is reminiscent of New York City. When you had no AC, where'd you go sleep?
Yeah.
This is similar to what happened in Cambridge while they were Hasty Puddings parade. Kids were all, this is not the actual building, but they were doing this, and the nice cast iron molding that was on top, the kids were all leaning on it, let go, fell 3-4 stories, came down, didn't pierce anybody, but it ricocheted and smacked a bunch of people, and lottery ticket. This is what firemen want and need. This is when all hell breaks loose. This is what they need to be able. I'm going to talk about load tests today. They save a lot of times children and people who can't go out. For some reason, they can't go out the front door. They got to come out some back window or whatever the situation is. Firemen use it. And see this poor guy right here? Vendors. It's also dangerous for vendors. One of our guys out of Chicago, his father 4 years ago fell 7 stories from fixing a fire escape very much the same way. The things just collapsed underneath him and he fell, but he didn't survive. So firemen, vendors, tenants, you never see a dead landlord though. Okay? But another live load test. Okay? People even using fire escapes to, do actually I'm going to do something here just to see if I can get this a little darker. Does that help? And students. Students love to go out there, hang their plants. Students love to go out there and smoke their cigarettes. And just hang, go from room to room, depending on what the scenario is. Another live load test. Some of them have no results, some of them have results. This is down by Rhode Island. Blackstone or Blacksboro? Blacksboro, I think it's Blackstone. I forgot the name. Fire escape there, see all the rust? Fire escape here, see all the rust? The fire escape that I'm on, all the rust. What this says was a 5-unit building. The owner and his son did the roof themselves. Took the fire escapes off, put the fire escapes back, had some extra bolts. Why do you need extra bolts? It's like a mechanic, you know, says, oh, your engine came with extra bolts. Here's the box in case you need them. And this was during a time when there was somebody was buying and selling the building. So the owner of the existing condo and his real estate agent, the buyer and their real estate agent, plus the trustee were up on this fire escape, and it collapsed and it fell to the roof below. Now, everybody, nobody died, but everybody survived. And everybody was able to make one phone call. 911 or your local lawyer? The lawyer first, and had their lawyer call 911. There's another live load test that occurred in Iowa, in the Iowa college there. 3 students were up there watching the fireworks. The guy who fixed the window on the right side over here, his workers took the fire escape off, put it back in, but instead of putting the through plate that was originally there, they had a 1/2-inch hole for a through plate. They put in a 2-inch lag bolt back in the hole. So that fell there, hit there, and then came to the ground. So that's the blood. That's a live load test. We went there to investigate. They hired us as an expert witness, and they had the fire escape CSI. And they obviously kept the evidence in a good place, such as an open field 8 blocks away. But we were able to still find the bolt. Hold on a second. There's the bolt. This changed the latch screw, actually. And then they put it right back. But this time they put a bolt in. The inspector training. Here we are in Lowell, Massachusetts. Bob, say your last name. Marsilia. Italiano? Si. We're here looking at, he's the building commissioner in the city of Lowell, and we have a fire escape right down by our feet. What's the greatest thing about this is we're going to be able to see all the rust and the connections. We're going to see all original hardware and squares. We're going to basically, he had a class today, and what we're basically looking at is a fire escape that no more paint is on it. So this is a perfect one because I can get my nose right into it. And this is a perfect example of everything that can go wrong with a fire escape. Let's talk about this one. And then we're going to go look at these other ones and a big monster that's on the back. So this may be a 10 to 15 minute video, but what is on here works there. So let's take a look. More paint and rust or more rust and paint? So that's all you need. Let's say they knew you were coming, Bob, and they painted this thing 100%. What are you looking for next?
The original hardware.
Original hardware. So let's show people what original hardware is. This is a square bolt. Square bolts. Square bolts. And some of these, so now let's stay underneath here before we get on that side, Bob. How about grating? Any popped grating of the spacers?
Yeah, the spacers are missing.
So what that means is when a fireman or a person steps and your leg goes through that, you get locked. You can't save yourself because now you're trapped with a bear trap. How about rusty tiers? Any rusty tiers? Indicating that water's getting into the connection.
Yeah, right there in front of
How about cement blowout into the back?
Yeah, you can see that too.
See cement blowout. Okay, let's take a look. Any damage from a truck or anything? Any bends on this fire escape? Okay.
Looks like that might have been hit.
Got hit. Let's take a look at is it square heads or rivets on the supports? Are those original or have they been switched out in the past 50 to 75 years?
No, they're original.
Original. To let this fire escape rust this much, how many years? To get 100% of your paint off your fire escape?
25 at least.
At least 25. Is there any paint that you can still see left? But even though there's no more paint on this, does this thing, which is older than 1978, have lead still in it?
Yes.
So it still has lead. Let's look at all the rust in between the connections. All this rust. Let's look at your treads. Missing spacers?
Yes.
And let's look over here underneath. Better before you climb up above. If I had my hammer, I'd do a hammer test. Any rust in any of the connections?
Rust in all of them.
Rust in all of them. The bulge. You can see all the bulges, right?
Yeah.
Is there any of them that if you were looking up straight up, can you see the sky if you look straight up on some of these? You look over here. You see that one right there? Can you look straight up?
Yeah.
How about this one over here? See all the rust? Any of these bolts that are holding as best they can, any of them totally gone? Are they all suspect in your mind?
All suspect, yeah.
Would you allow any of these to be welded and remain in place? Because that's a typical repair.
This has on the top 1/4-inch gap.
Yep. Now let's see how it lands on the ground. Is this all rotting on the ground?
It's all rotted out on that side especially. The channel is completely rotted out.
So the channel is completely gone over there? Okay. So, and how much rust? 1/4 inch every 25 years. How long you got of rust there?
Well, What, 75 years of rust there?
75 years. All these treads are 1/4, 3/8, 1/2 inch. If I was to stomp along on these, you think some of these would give way? Some of them have been patched with some welded bars. This is a typical repair when these flats give out.
Yes.
Lots of bends and smashes. I'll go slowly up this fire escape. I won't go too far, but you've got enough evidence here that this is a perfect candidate of how bad things get when you just leave it alone. Have your inspectors ever walked down these alleyways?
Yes.
And why didn't they write this one up?
Well, we haven't had the program yet. But we have.
Maybe they did and nobody paid attention. Maybe they didn't know what to look for. And if it ain't broke, why fix it? There's also other reasons too. It's just it's not the priority. People think these are great. They've always been great. That nobody's ever fell 25 years ago. Yeah. Nobody fell 50 years ago. And they think that these things are indestructible. But now this is what I call a hidden time bomb. This is a grenade with a pin already pulled out of it. A fireman or somebody coming out of that top is going to fall down these stairs and get hurt or jammed or stuck.
Yeah.
So this is part of the 101.3. All exterior steel or wooden stairs.
Correct.
Okay. Is this an exterior steel or wooden stair?
It is.
Is there enough water falling on it?
There's plenty of water falling.
Got obstructions?
Yeah.
This is fairly new. This is 10, 15 years old.
Yeah.
Nailed together. Safe, solid, you think? We wiggle it a little bit? Okay. Does this need to be inspected on the 101.3?
It does.
So all exterior steel or wooden stairs need to be inspected. Need a permit to repair this?
Yes.
Renovator's license?
No paint on it.
No paint on it, but they can stain it. There's no paint. How about this one? All exterior steel or wooden stairs. What is this?
It's a steel bulkhead stair combination.
This is a stair. This is an egress. We're missing anything here?
Handrail.
Handrails are missing.
It's over 30 inches.
Let's take a look at that. There's water falling on it. These are all metal. Any bulging rails or this looks like an adaptation to a bulkhead plus a stair.
It is, yeah.
But it's missing its rail. Yeah. It's fairly 15 to 25 years old. You estimate? Yeah. Does this need to be inspected and have a cert on this?
It does.
Okay, so because it's 101, all exterior steel wooden stairs. Now let's take a look at this one. Now this is going to happen a lot of times. You can't even get access. Yeah. So let's talk about access. This door right here, which has a lock, is illegal because now these people cannot egress. It's very simple. On the inside, there's a push bar. Yeah. That's all you do. So whenever you have these gates that do whatever this thing is doing here for the trucks, that must be able to be pushed out. So that's a simple modification to make that a crash bar door. And then if you mesh enough of this, you mesh this, then nobody can put their hand in and force the door open. Right. So that's a neat, but it's illegal to lock somebody in a cage. Now, let's talk about from down here, and I can't get any more closer, from down here, more paint than rust or more rust than paint on the entire fire escape?
It's about equal, I would guess, but
right,
mostly paint, mostly rust.
Mostly rust, so it needs a paint job. Now, from down here, and I know you can't see to the 5th or 6th floor. You just need to look at the 1st floor. Any evidence of maintenance, any shiny hex head bolts in this 50 to 75-year-old structure?
No, I see a mix of square head and rivets.
Okay, square heads and rivets.
So it's 50 to 75
50 to 75 years old. No evidence of maintenance.
No evidence.
Is every connection on there suspect then?
Yes.
Any release arm on there that you can see that would let that cantilever drop 2 to 3 feet per second?
I can't see a release mechanism.
So you're not sure whether even the cantilever is balanced correctly?
Correct.
And you're looking into the cement into the walls. Anything that you want to share? Can you see any rusty tears and any of the cement going up?
Yeah, I see signs of spalling and rust.
Okay. So right from here, and what about the grading? Let's talk about the grading.
Yeah, you can see the spaces are rusted out.
Spaces are rusted out in a lot of the grading. So again, as an inspector from down below, and you start looking up, a lot of these buildings that are 50 to 75 years old have not seen a certification in at least 25 years. And it'd be great if they had a tag, and it'd be great if you can get out of this building in case there was a fire.
Yeah.
But here in this one little alleyway, we have a major egress system, and you talked about ACs in the windows, which is illegal, and you have units in in front of windows that people have to use to get out.
Well, they got the windows blocked off.
The windows are blocked off with cages. Again, a lot of that was because of security issues, but that's not They have to resolve that.
They have doors that lead out to the.
And they have doors, but sometimes the windows are the only means for another apartment. The doors are from a hallway, but every now and then to satisfy that piece of the building,
they use the window to get. That's why they put that little add-on. So don't think if all of a sudden there's a hallway door feeding it.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason why they put that little half circle there. That half circle is to pick up that window to meet the means of egress inside, because that is the only second means of egress for that apartment is through the window, which is now blocked by ACs and units. So right from here, you have a fire escape. So right in this building, in this alleyway, and I don't think we have any more down here, you have what 101 covers. Wood, all exterior wood or steel, fire escapes. And this one is the best because all original hardware on this one. And this was a great one. Don't you think that it showed everything that could go wrong with a fire escape, it showed on this one. And this is what you use in training. And look at the staircase. See the whole stringer, how it clips up there? Yeah. All original hardware. So sometimes it's not the treads that'll kill you, it's the whole staircase will let go and fall to the ground. So we're going to go look at some more Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Lowell with Bob, the Commissioner. And in this city, you touch a fire escape in the city, he wants a permit, he wants a renovator's license, he wants engineer oversight. Otherwise, this fire escape will not be allowed to be certified, or he wants a load test. Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. Going to light up?
Done on.
Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in Westboro. We got Gino back here, State Inspector. We got obstructions. We got trees growing. Let's do a quick inspection. If I was the inspector looking at this fire escape, I'm hired as a fire escape inspector. I'll tell you what I found wrong with this fire escape. First of all, we got obstructions. We got a lot of rust. We've got this thing deteriorating into the ground. So all these treads can actually, you can actually just rip these treads. If I was to hammer test, I got rust growing in here. If I was to hammer test, this is where inspectors get hurt. They go up, and sometimes this thing will fall from an. Look at this, Gene. See, if you look at that side, you think that thing was going to give way if an inspector came down unknowingly?
Oh yeah, it's ready to go.
So this is ready to go. This is a loading dock, so this gets used all the time. So now I'll be careful going up because I'm looking for certain things. I got all this grading is supported at the nose, and this grading is supported at the back, and this whole rear is all rotted out. So. So now we've got loads of material coming in here, and so imagine some poor kid putting out a couch, a refrigerator,
The actual
and the
angle
rear.
is gone.
The channel is gone. So if you get underneath there, Viv, and you just poke your nose underneath there, and shoot that thing.
Channel end is completely gone.
Now this is taking couches, refrigerators, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's missing its rail here, and a lot of times this is a chain rail.
That's right. Yeah.
So usually, if any kids get over here playing around, they could fall. So it's usually missing a passing rail. Look at the supports into the ground, how they're rotting, because it's just cemented into the ground as opposed to being sitting on a pillar. That's another problem there. There's some welds here that I can't verify, but as soon as I put a bolt through here, I can verify this weld here by putting a couple of bolts in here. So whenever you get welds, I basically nullify the weld by putting in bolts. Look at all this rust growing in here.
Boy.
Okay.
That really shows you how much it will push out.
Yeah, it'll push out. A quarter inch will go to 1 inch. Wow. Now, if I'm going to go up.
Another obstruction, a tree.
Yeah, another tree. It's a very popular thing to have trees. A lot of people let vines grow. These vines will take a fire escape over in no time. Now, this whole fire escape is welded. Because it looks like they used to have treads here, and they came in and took the treads out and put in new ones. Do you see these rusty tears coming down?
They do.
That's an indication that whoever welded these, and they usually weld the nose and the back, a piece in the back. The water gets in from above and it starts eating these trees. So even though visually the weld looks good from the outside, there's usually only a quarter of them percent left when you step on it and the weld gives way. Let me see if I can find one that's ready to give on the way up. And that's on this side. If you look up, straight up here, you're going to see quite a bit.
That's it. That's the one that's in.
Okay, so all these rusty tears are indicators that water's coming in from above.
The next couple of beds.
Okay, now as you can see, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do the grading up here.
Yeah.
So all this fire escape was kind of put together. So all these brackets and all these connectors here. The only way I can guarantee this weld, if it's not a rust build, all I have to do to not weld this, and you can't because of the EPA requirements, you can't weld on fire escapes. As soon as I put in 2 structural bolts here, 2 structural bolts there, then I seal this up with silicone. I don't have to verify the welding. This angle needs to be bolted. This corner angle needs to be bolted. Right. But she's legged to the ground, so that's just, she's just pulling out because freeze and thaw gets in here. Water gets in here, freeze and thaw keeps pulling, but it's a lag screw into an anchor, into the wall. It needs a full paint job because it hasn't seen paint. And it's an all welded fire escape, so a lot of times, Gene, see this connection right here? All these connections to avoid verification process. As soon as I blow some holes through them, I got this stringer welded to this thing. As soon as I put an angle clip in here, put 2 bolts in it, I've eliminated the need for what could be a very good weld. But because I don't want to spend any money x-raying it, it's cheaper to put a bolt through with a clip. So this would here would take a bolt. This would here would take a bolt. Otherwise, verify that weld. So as you start coming down, you can see that the worst part of this fire escape is down here. To the point that there's even a dip in the grading because there's some heavy load coming in and out. Is this considered a life safety issue in your opinion? Knowing the traffic that comes through here,
yes.
Is somebody going to get hurt with a refrigerator, loading a fridge?
Absolutely. Eventually.
And it's never the owner. It's always Joe, helper. Now, even these treads, as you can see, the day that you can start grabbing steel that is welded and connected, and if you want, you can. You're not supposed to do this with steel. I mean, the only thing fighting me is this tree. It's not the steel anymore. And this is a good point. Even though it's the final tread, look what rust did to the connector. And that's the stringer, it's all rotted. Okay? So that's the power of rust left unchecked. Now, the cement issue on the ground, the bulges. Now I'm going to give you an answer right here. What we tell the clients to do, because snow will accumulate here. You clean this up, you're going to find a foundation of some kind. We get a sauna tube, about 12 inches. A piece of sauna tube. Rip it in half. Do this. Sit it on top of the old sauna. You bring it up 6 to 12 inches above grade. Now, this thing is already in the cement. It's already wrong. Because you're not supposed to put steel or wood inside cement. Building code doesn't allow. I'm already too far gone on this one. But if I raise this 8 to 12 inches of cement, sauna wrapped around, I drilled some holes, put a couple of rebars in the old cement to sort of marry the two together. Prior to that, I grabbed roofing tar, and I gooped with my hands in a glove. I gooped this whole thing up to 12 inches with tar. Then I wrap it in cement, and then I fill it with about 6 inches so that whenever there's snow, more than 6 inches of snow is what's going to be needed. But it's tarred 12 inches. So that whenever there's snow accumulating down here, it's sitting on top of tar. And then the last thing I put on this, when there's a new piece of cement, sono, I put in a clip that sits on top of the sono. Bolted here and sitting so that as this rots, and this will rot, what's inside will rot away, the new clip on top is the new foot. What's wrong is sitting inside, but I can't do anything about it because they already built it wrong. But there's things you can do with that. Scrape and paint, older than 1978, so EPA renovator's license is required. You need a permit to pull.
Yep.
You can't do any work on this fire escape. No welding allowed. So it's all bolted. So I can secure every one of these treads by coming here and putting in 2 bolts. I drilled 2 3/8 holes. Do I have to guarantee these welds anymore? No. As soon as I put in the 2 bolts, I've nullified the weld. I still will try to seal it on top so water doesn't get in there anymore. 50-year silicone is a great thing to have.
Actually, we're actually missing the E9.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's an unsupported piece of grading. There you go. And you can actually.
Yeah, we got work to do here.
Yeah.
We got to
so
start writing.
these are the kind of things, because you get very few of these fire escapes are kind of whipped into a shape like this one. This is kind of brought here, and some guy had pieces, and he created this fire escape system. Most fire escapes, believe it or not, are built to standard, built to code. This, every now and then, there's one that's shoehorned in, and this is one of those that is kind of shoehorned in. But that's all you have to worry about is, do they know what to look for? Do they know what to expect? How do you deal with a welded fire escape versus a bolted fire escape? And all the codes associated. But if you have a permit that you pull, and you are the one overseeing that to make sure that the vendor who's doing the work is correct, and then there's the confidence test, is just the sign-off. Meaning, if I'm going to oversee this job, the engineer has to oversee. So there's 3 to 5 visits required by an engineer. So that if he's watching this and he's going to be signing, he can't do an initial inspection and a final inspection 6 months from now. He must schedule and get paid for by the owner an initial inspection review. The vendor is starting to do the work. He must show up when the vendor's working, watch the job, make sure it's going according to his standard, come in the middle of the job, come in the 3/4 of the job, and then do a final. Because he's signing off on a certification. They don't do that though. It's never done. It's something that is now what you're looking for. You're looking for oversight. In order for you to deal with either a calculated load test or a live load test, there must be oversight, which is not, it's not happening. But in the permit process, you will ask for that. You say, great, so you're getting a fire escape repaired. Who's doing the oversight? What firm is doing the oversight to confirm that I'm either getting a load test at the end of this or I'm getting a calculated load test, which includes oversight?
Well, thank you again. Get some work to do.
Academy Inspector Training video. We're here in Lowell, Massachusetts. We're here with Bob Marsilius, Commissioner. And this is called the inspection from far away. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. That fire escape pass or fail from here?
That fails.
So you really don't have to get there any further because the code is very clear. You must keep it painted, you must be keeping it structurally sound.
Yep.
So that means right from here, you were in your car, you were inspecting a building across the street, you're inspecting this gas station, and you happen to be driving by and you know that that's the Cobblestone restaurant, and you just noticed that it's not been maintained as required by law. You have enough to write a violation. Am I correct?
Right. Yep.
You don't even have to find anything wrong structurally. But you've had some experience and you've had some training that you understand that fire escapes rust from the inside out or the outside in.
Inside out.
And to let that much rust grow on that fire escape, how many years of rust growth or unchecked painting has minimally does that have?
20.
20 to 25 years, right? Yeah. So now let's walk across and see if we can find something else, because they knew you were coming. Okay, they knew you were coming because you warned them 2 weeks ago that you're doing a fire escape inspection. And they came in and they had a guy come in and paint 100%. So let's not look at this rusty fire escape right now. Let's look at this painted black shiny fire escape. Now, and we'll get closer because I'm sure we can walk inside here. Second thing you look for, evidence of maintenance. This is a 50 to 75-year-old building or older. Look at the old, it's older, so it's 75 to 100 years old.
Yep.
And you're just looking for evidence of maintenance. Because you've got a structure here that you can either see square head bolts, or you can see rivets, or you can see hex heads. Any evidence of maintenance anywhere?
None.
So the stairs, the supports, the platform. You see a release arm anywhere on this?
I don't.
Is there a chain? See that little bump on the back of the weight box, keeping it from going horizontal? So it can't go. So is this thing balanced or not to your belief? If it's balanced backwards now?
I can't tell.
So you understand that if you take a 150-pound woman and a 50-pound child,
may or may not.
She would have to.
But even so, it's blocked by that canopy.
Yes, even so, it's never going to be used because somebody put in something that basically made no sense, and that's not a breakaway. So it's obstructed. So you have a life safety issue. We don't even know what the occupancy in the building is up above, do we? Could be offices.
Rooms. Yeah,
function
I think it's
room.
offices and function rooms.
So right now, the function room, we have a life safety issue just because of that one little piece right there. Okay. Hex head bolts, square head bolts. So we don't see any hex heads.
No.
Now we're going to look for other, because that's the first giveaway that you have enough. Now you have enough structural. Do you see any issues on the cement going into the wall? Do you see any blasting, any spalling of any kind? Oh, they'll all look pretty tight because the whole building looks nice and tight. You know,
it does. There's some minor cracking, like
minor
at the
cracking.
sills, and you can see underneath that sill. There's see the crack.
Structural crack. Do you see any rusty tears on any of the supports that would indicate that water's getting in there? I don't see too many. Okay, now let's get a little bit closer. You want to step in here? Look at the weight box underneath.
It's all rusted out.
It's all rusted out underneath. Not huge, but enough. If you look up every tread and you look up at every tread, do you see any rusty tears coming from behind where the clip is and where the flat is? Do you see some rusty tears here and there? Especially at the very top?
Yeah, I do.
See the rusty tears?
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing we're going to look at, which is typical here from Massachusetts, look at the spacers on all these treads and all these gratings. You see any spacers that are popped, or have given way, moved? Straight ahead up above your head here on this one, you see how all the spacers have shifted, they're no longer in alignment?
Yeah.
That's usually because rust is in there blowing them out and pushing them in every direction.
Yeah.
So right now you have a fire escape that somebody can quickly paint and try to get the one over on you. But right now you got no evidence of maintenance. They're all square head bolts everywhere.
Yeah.
So look at the gussets now. Do you see any rust in the gusset? See the gusset there on that corner right there?
Yeah.
So that gusset, is that any evidence of maintenance on the gusset?
No.
But yet there's rust inside the gusset.
And you can see displaced masonry where that angle brace goes into.
Exactly. On the right side, it's blown out. The water's getting in on that one, correct? Let's look at this one.
Follow those angle brackets
Be careful.
down, right?
Yeah. Look at the gusset on this side.
Yeah.
Any rust on that connection and the gussets?
Yeah.
Look at the angle. Now, you talk about the railings. See the pickets?
Yeah.
Those are just stress tested. But see the corners? Yeah. Original or new hardware on those? Original. So if there was ever going to be a failure, it's going to be at this corner. How about tying back into the building? You see some of the brick blown out a little bit on the back? Yeah. So it's these things. So on a typical repair that you want in your city, you want minimally, on this 50 to 75-year-old, you want all the treads rebolted, correct?
Yes.
You want minimally all these gussets rebolted. And what about going into the wall? Because I can't verify. What's the only way you want me to verify the cement going into the wall on this 100-year-old building?
I think they have to replace it or do some
well,
sort of testing.
Load test, right? I can load test without any destructive testing, or can I put a support? Can I put an epoxy bolt to the right of that, about 5 inches, epoxy bolt into the old masonry, and then leave sleeping dogs lying on this?
I think so.
Or can I run an angle on this about 10 foot of platform? I run a 3x3 or a 4x4 cross, and every 2 or every 3 feet I epoxy bolt 8 to 12 inches deep with a 3/4 epoxy bolt, and then I mechanically fasten myself back to every one of these C channels. Do I now need to do any destructive testing to verify for you, or have I duplicated the connection?
Duplicated the connection.
So you're satisfied with that? So you would allow me to rebolt 100% of the treads on the platform, on the cantilever, on the stairs, rebolt the platforms, and then reconnect into the building with epoxy anchors, new epoxy anchors, then scrape and paint the fire escape, and this would be a certified repair for you in the city of Lowell?
Yes.
Okay. And then the minor things, and I'll talk about the minor things. These bars don't have to be rewelded or rebolted because they're minor structural, so those just need to be stress tested and confirmed. The in-between rails, the top is a major, but the in-between just need to be good in connection. They don't have to be rebolted if they're in good to excellent condition. And obviously the other thing that's missing here, you need a release arm so that this thing does drop 2 to 3 feet per second. No obstructions down below. Correct? And I need that thing popped out of there. So one of your inspectors needs to speak with them because there's 2 obstructions. There's this one and that one, which now prohibit this thing from dropping down.
Yeah, the weight box has to be rebuilt.
Well, when you do the release arm, you have to rebuild the weight box to make it drop 2 to 3 feet per second, correct? And you can't have any obstructions down below. Now, can we get out of here? Is there a gate missing here? Because you need the quickest way out, so we need to make a gate system here so that these people can get out, because this seems the most likely path of travel, correct? Yep. And then most likely once they get to a public way. So we've just basically certified. Now, this is a full fire escape system. I don't know if it's the same building or not, but let's take a look let's take a look at this one.
This had a cantilever, as you can see, it was moved.
Great answer here. And now look, I see somebody upstairs. What's going on here? Because this happens in some states. They remove something without meeting their code now. So does this have a proper second means of egress out of here?
No.
This probably got taken out of here because people were breaking in. Here's the remnants of the cantilever, and they probably needed to do something here. Let's see what it is. So, they can still meet the means of egress here. Is it a mathematical problem? Can you at least give them a ladder, a fold-out ladder? If they can't put anything else for whatever reason, what I'm saying? Again, it's your call. But is this legal right now? A legal means of egress for the people upstairs? So it's missing pieces, so this is a violation. But now let's take a look at if this was a Juliet balcony, because you're going to get some places where there's what's called Romeo and Juliet balconies, and it's right on the code 101.3. Original hardware or any change of maintenance?
It's original except for where they put a new railing in to block off what was the access to the cantilever.
Exactly.
On the side.
Yeah. Now talk about the cement. Any blowout?
Yeah, this is worse. It's all obviously the water's gotten in.
Yeah, water's got on both of them, right? Let me ask you a question. If I come in here and I'll seal that up because that's the veneer, that's not the structure, right? I'll seal that up really good. And then 5 inches to the right and 5 inches to the left, or I'll put an angle going across, joining the two, unification of a platform. And I'll put 3 or 4 epoxy bolts into the wall, or I'll put 1 epoxy bolt to the left, 5 inches away, 1 bolt 5 inches away, so I can get some good meat. Into the wall 8 to 12 inches. Will you be set? Can I let sleeping dogs lie?
Yeah.
Okay. And then obviously all square heads need to be totally flipped out. Let's talk about the paint on this one. That one and this one. Older than 1978, EPA renovators licenses apply, right?
Right.
Got lead, no welding allowed. Need a full permit to do any repairs?
Yes.
All repairs in Lowell need a permit? How about a painting only?
No, wouldn't need a permit for painting only.
When's the last time you're going to just paint the fire escape? So very rare can you just paint the fire escape ever, right? Knowing what you know today. So I need a permit on this one in order to do any repairs. You can remove the painting costs from the permit fee, just to lower down the permit fee a little bit. But both of these need a permit to do repairs. And now you need a solution. You need to find out why this was taken away and the final answer was never brought back. If there was a way for me to connect these two together, it'd be great. But otherwise, let's say there is a mathematical reason why this had to happen. Do they need a full fold-out ladder on the side of this? Or is there room in here for a spiral?
Yes, to both. Yeah.
So if you had a choice, spiral or ladder, which one you want here?
Well, I think in order to prevent access to the building, I think they're trying to keep people from getting.
That's
up.
always the reason, but that still doesn't save lives. Yeah. Will you allow a ladder or a spiral?
I'd rather have a spiral.
So there's a spiral. There's plenty of room here for a spiral, correct?
Looks like it, yeah.
Yep. So let's give them a spiral. So they can spiral off to this side over here. And if for some reason, which they have to put in writing to you, they say, spiral is not going to work. It blocks something. You say, okay, minimally I want a fold-out ladder. Yep. And this then will return back to as a proper means of egress, modified at your discretion. Otherwise, leaving this behind means what? There's some unfinished business here, and this has been overlooked. But the renovator's license is very clear. EPA says that you can't touch any fire escape in the United States, not just Lowell, without having a certified renovator touch it because there's lead on every fire escape older than 1978. Yep. Unless they have a document that says it's got low levels or no lead at all, which is very rare because all these were based with primer. Yep. That was lead-based. So that's what the city of Lowell wants here. Permits, renovators' licenses, engineer oversight. You're going to allow a vendor to work here unchecked without a permit? No. You're going to allow a vendor to work out here without at least 3 visits from a structural engineer. Because in order for this to be guaranteed, a certified guaranteed repair, the owner must contract a structural engineer and or a fire escape engineer, and both of these exist out there, and there must be oversight along with a final sign-off by the building department anyway. So there's 4 times that the vendor's being watched during the repair of this. And prior to painting, all repairs must be certified first, then they can paint it. That's what Lowell's looking for.
Agreed, yes.
Perfect. Again, Fire Escape Academy, inspector training. We're here in Lowell. Inspector training videos. We're here in Lowell, Massachusetts. We got Bob Marsilia. He's the building commissioner here in Lowell. And we're doing some downtown walk-around training. And these are just some of the standards that he's looking for. This is the Sun Building. And this is a great building to look at simply because it's beige in color. A couple of things we look for. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So did it pass the paint test? More rust than paint, or more paint than rust? So that's all you really need to know. But let's say somebody painted this whole thing. What other things can we look for? The next one for structural is original hardware. Any evidence of maintenance just from the ground. You don't have to go up 10 stories. Because if they didn't fix the first floor, they didn't fix the 9th floor either.
No, these are rivets too.
So these are all rivets indicating that this is older than 75 years old, because rivets are 75 plus years old on average. Square head bolts are 50 to 75 years old on average. Now, do you see any icing or dragon tears and rust coming down the wall?
Everywhere.
So that means you know that the wall is getting penetrated with water. Let's look at the grading. Is the grading showing any displacements on the spacers that keep the grading?
Yeah.
How about How about the treads going up? Do you see rust between the angle clip and the flat bar on each side of the stringers?
Yes.
When you're looking at the clip that holds the entire staircase up above, does it look like it has original hardware or any repairs, any evidence of maintenance anywhere?
Negative. No, it's all original.
There used to be a cantilever here, I believe, that they took out because you can see all the cuts, and they put in this fold-out. And this fold-out ladder is an example of what you can put in some cases when the city allows it. But you lift that latch, and when that latch opens, this ladder actually opens to the right side, and it opens up into an 18-inch. And a lot of times you can find out whether it's in good condition or not if you can pull it just by, but it looks like it's frozen because if you don't keep these things oiled and greased, they don't open up even when you release them. A lot of damage. You can even see that the bottom plate up there is pulled away. Okay, so now this is a very obvious. Now also, you have an EPA rule here. Fire escapes that are older than 1978 have lead as a base. You think this fire escape has lead?
Yes.
So you need to be a licensed renovator. So anybody fixing this fire escape is not only have to be a licensed renovator, must pull a permit to do any repair work on this, must have engineer oversight, and the engineer must make sure that there's a permit pulled. The engineer needs to do 3 to 5 visits, and on a fire escape of this magnitude, it's probably going to be 5 to 10 visits to verify every connection. And into the wall, what do you want them to do? You want them just to patch up at the veneer level, or do you want to verify or nullify these connections into this wall?
They all have to be, they can't be verified because they're all failed. You can see the expensive rust.
Right, lots of tears everywhere. So on this one, would you recommend individual connections back with epoxy bolts, you know, the Hilti's 8 to 12 inches, or would you want unification, which is a piece of angle 3 by 3 going along the whole length underneath, and every 2 or 3 feet as per the engineer's order, epoxy bolt all of it, the angle, and then the angle clip ties back into all these T-bars. Because you know what the problem is with the wall on this in the front of the building. Would you want individual epoxies, or would you want unification as a better method here at this building?
Probably unification, but then the existing individual beams that are coming out look like they may be in need of replacement in some cases.
Well, that's a different story. That's either sistering. You're mainly concerned about the tie-ins, because even if they're rotting near the beginning, we can sister that up and pick it up because the angle, the 4x4, can pick it up beyond any rusting or any problem at the wall level. Yeah. But unification is what I would recommend here because we have a problem wall on this building that's older than 1920s. So unification would give me more strength than individual. Yeah. So this one is an easy giveaway because this is a beige fire escape on a white building, and you can just see all the problems. But let's look over here. And again, you don't see any evidence of maintenance. All original rivets. This is 75 plus years old. Yeah. Let's look at this one and what kind of bolts you see here. Rivets or squares?
It's a square.
And this is a dark, gloomy day, so it's dark here. So you know, for you to be seeing fire escape rust, it's very difficult. I mean, you can see rust on this one, but now you're an inspector and you're coming down here, so it's an easy thing. More paint than rust, or more rust than paint on this fire escape? What do you say?
This looks like it has more paint than rust.
Okay, so you can't get them on the paint maintenance issue, but now let's take a look and see if there's been evidence of maintenance. Let's just look for any square heads. So on from the side here, any of the gussets, you see any hex head bolts anywhere? On any one, you see any shiny new bolt anywhere?
No, they look like they're all original square heads.
So they're all original squares. Let's take a look over here on this cantilever. This cantilever, any evidence of maintenance? Any evidence? You see rust blowing out?
I see a lot of rust. I see square heads.
And you see this contraption here. They've attached things to the cantilever. You got the weight box on both sides. Any maintenance to the weights? Release arm, perfect release arm. Look all this smashed release arm.
Yeah, the release arm is not working because it's in the open position now.
Yeah,
so
it's in the open position.
It wouldn't be working. So this thing is
out of balance.
Out of balance. It looks like it was pinned up.
And let's see where it's pinned. And it got hit by a truck. Do you agree that it got hit by a truck?
They put a wooden dowel above the door to keep it from dropping.
So they got.
You can't.
It won't even come down. So you got a life safety issue now because these people are going to come walking out as far as they can until that dowel gives way. And then what's happened? You're going to have a collapse. How about obstruction? We got plenty of obstruction on this fire escape.
Yeah.
Okay. You look up, you got evidence of maintenance on any of these treads and any of these fire escapes going up?
No evidence.
How about the wall, going into the wall? You see any rusty tiers? Any blowout? Any spalling? Yeah. All right. So even if they painted this fire escape, the fact that there's no hex head bolts anywhere is evidence that there's been no maintenance in 75 years, in at least 50 to 75 years. Let's take a look at this deck. This deck is made out of steel or wood?
Steel and wood, it looks like.
So cement to a wood lip of some kind. You think that's safe or rotted?
It's deteriorated.
Okay. So
Wood
let's.
decking is all rotted. You can see it's got asphalt on it.
Let me tell you something. This building right here, whose fire escape is this? Is this the right side fire escape? Because it looks like there's a door up there. Because it looks like this fire escape on this independent building shares this fire escape. So who has to pay for this fix? It's this building, because this fire escape belongs to them. This fire escape uses this fire escape to get down. Now, do you know what happens when a fire escape, do you think that was truck damage? Right there?
Possible.
Well, I mean the bend, you think people came out and bent it? Or you think that was truck damage? Now, are you aware that the law says that in case there's truck damage, whether you know who it is, this is a hit and run, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Whether this was done yesterday or 25 years ago, the insurance on this building will fix this fire escape. This is what we call a fire escape lottery ticket, because I have to fix this fire escape and bring it back to operational condition. So the owner who's going to get a violation on this, if he gets the right guy that knows how to advise him, is going to say, dude, the insurance company is going to fix this 100% for free. Simply because if you know who the truck is that smashed it, no, I don't know, then your own insurance with your deductible of $1,000, $2,000, or $5,000 is going to fix this thing 100%, because I got to bring it back to operational condition.
Just the damaged area?
Not the damage. The whole fire escape must be brought back to operational condition. So, no, because this is a different building. If this building was hit for any reason, he feeds into this one. So the insurance company has to fix this whole cantilever for this guy that you're going to write a violation on.
Look at the electrical up there.
Yep. Electrical is usually 10 feet away, because you stop pouring enough water on this fire escape during a fire, it's going to cause an electrocution of some kind.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, these guys who are writing the violations, they don't see enough of this. But the beauty about your new system is that when they walk back here, they put a yellow tag or a red tag here. Which one do they hang?
Yeah, red tag.
They red tag this one. What about that one?
That's definitely a red tag.
These red tags are going to do what for the firemen?
They'll keep them safe. They would realize they can't go up on them.
And what about the tenants who pay rent here? What would a red tag do for them?
Might be able to withhold their rent.
Withhold their rent and say, hey, it's not safe. Make it safe for me. So this is Alleyway Inspection, Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training. We're here in Lowell, Massachusetts. Inspector Training. All right, so is it on?
Yep.
Okay, Fire Escape Academy Inspector Training video. We're here with Gene Novak, right?
Right.
State Inspector. And what we're going to be doing, we're in town of Westboro. We just finished doing an Academy training class, and we're doing what's called a downtown walk around, and we're just going to look at this fire escape as an example. And all around this fire escape, there's several types of the same type of fire escape that don't have cantilevers, that have ladders. So we're going to show you, and he's going to pass this on to all the members. And this is a YouTube link that basically it's going to be a 3 to 5 minute video. It could be 10 minutes because we're going to walk all the way around the building. But what an inspector has to do to no longer ever step on these things. All fire escape inspections can be done right from the ground. And there's two things. Must be structurally sound, must be kept painted. So let's start off with the first one. Whether or not there's a violation here. If you could have gone in this building for something else, a permit of some kind, only to walk out here and identify that the fire escape is or has not been painted. So, first question, more rust than paint or more paint than rust?
Hey, this is about 50-50.
50-50?
So it's clearly a concern.
It's been, and in order for this much rust, just so you know, it takes over 25 years for this much rust to grow, of no paint job. And that's a proven fact. That it takes over 25 years to let this much grow. Well, let's say they knew you were coming. Last week, you gave out a notice that said, hey, I'm coming to your building, I'm going to do an inspection, and I'm checking your fire escape. A building owner was like, oh man, I'm not going to pass. So he gets Joe Painter to come out here and put a job on this, and it happens all the time. They want to mask it. Because a lot of times you're only underneath it, you're looking for a paint job, and a lot of times the paint job can hide a lot. Well, let's assume it's all painted now. The second thing you're looking for is for testing, structural adequacy. This building is 50 to 75 years old or older, and the fire escape is original to the building, but every connection on this is original. So usually in 50, 75 years, you've seen some sort of maintenance. And that maintenance could be changing of bolts, because to know that it's original hardware, you're looking at rivets or square head bolts.
Square heads, yeah.
And you're looking for evidence of any bulges in the connection plates of any kind. So, without even looking for structural problems such as missing treads or anything, do you notice any new hardware? Anything? Any new little bolts?
Yes, we do.
Anywhere, okay?
So the largest square is, we see some hex heads on the stringer.
There you go. So it looks like they came in and did something with the staircase, and there's some hex heads. So if you want to zoom in on those stringers, you see some hex heads there.
And we also see some type of flange underneath looks like an add-on underneath the tread.
Okay, so it looks like they created a bracket to hold the old tread up above.
That's right.
All right, let's see what the old treads look like. Because are they welded or are they so let's look over here. If you look in here, look at the original treads. Are they bolted or welded? Do they look like a certified welder to those? They do not. Even with your lack of experience as what is a certified inspection of a weld, you can see that it's kind of not the greatest. And did they repaint it after it was done?
I tell you, it doesn't look like they cleaned the welds off.
They didn't clean the welds, they didn't paint it.
I mean, they weren't inspected. We have a new tread here.
Right. So here's a new tread, a new piece of galvanized. So we've got some evidence of maintenance. Now, let's take a look at, if you look straight up, can you see any bulges in the clips of the treads that they just welded? You know, little rust tears, or can you see it? Especially that one.
Yes.
Now, especially that one, and Viv, if you can come in here.
I did already. I got it.
See the broken weld? See, welds snap, bolts stretch. So if I'm going to leave the rust inside a connection, 1 year, when the rust grows another 8, what happens to that weld? Just snaps. So is weld a means of repair for any fire escape? No. Fire escapes in the summer do this. They expand and do this. And in the winter they cool and contract and they do this. Now when you weld it, it does this. So that's why 98% of all the fire escapes in the United States are bolted connection fire escapes. They're supposed to move with the building and they're supposed to cool with the building. That's why all fire escapes are bolted. Very few are welded. And a lot of times, do you think when they weld it, they seal it up above so no water gets inside? Do you think water is getting inside those welds right now and is basically eating the weld from inside out? So it makes it so you can't weld. So let's go step back. Let's take a look at the rest of the hardware. Square or square head or hex head. So the weights, nobody's done anything on this weight box.
Large bulge right here.
Large bulge. If you step back here, you're going to see some large bulge over here. This whole connector, this joint over here, see some bulging happening here?
Yep.
Let's look at the gussets over here. Original or square heads?
Original.
All right, and look over here straight up. Look at this gusset straight up. If you come over here, then take a look at this gusset. And now, it's rust inside the connection. Yeah. Now, look, if you come over here, G, look at that gusset way back there. You see a bulge on the top? Doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. But do you even care whether or not on this 50 to 75-year-old fire escape, whether this gusset is beautiful, that gusset is compromised, and that gusset is compromised, will an engineer load test a fire escape that has 50, 75, or 100-year-old square original hardware? Do you think he would want to? You wouldn't want to. Now, if I came in here and I just took out some of these bolts and I put in new bolts in the connections, one at a time, or if this one is in great condition, do you think I could squeeze another bolt between them? Do you think I could squeeze some other new holes in there? So I have a choice in preparation for this thing for a load test. If I find square head bolts that are in good to excellent condition, and I don't want to change them out, I can actually reinforce them by backing them up with another bolt. But sometimes it's faster for me to take an old bolt out and put a new bolt in than it is for me to drill a new one next to it. So whatever's cheaper to the client will prepare it for a load test. So this original hardware, I can't load test this platform, but I can refurbish this platform in lieu of a load test.
Where is this framing attached to the building? I don't see it.
The attachment to the building is going to come, let me see if I can see the through bolts. See right here. If you look straight up there, you can see there's a through bolt into the building up there. Oh, sorry. And I think there's through bolts here that basically tie into the building. It's actually above.
No, it's right there in the corner. Right in that corner, there's a hole that goes right in.
Yeah.
Right
Oh,
at the corner.
Yeah. There's this is basically, it's got a backing plate inside, even though it's a brick structure. And there's a rod that comes out, and then that rod, if you look up there's 3 bolts that come out. So the rod comes out round 1 inch, and then they smash it and they flatten it, and it becomes 3 bolts that connect to the angle. So you see 3 of them right there.
Okay.
And there's more that you can see. So let's move forward into the cantilever. Must be balanced and must drop 2 to 3 feet per second. This is a release arm.
Yeah.
So I can't break into this building because this release arm won't let me pull the cantilever down.
I don't even know how it works. It's just you turn it?
As soon as it blocks your way. Single action requiring no special knowledge, and when you push it away, it turns.
It's not even open.
No, but it turns.
Yeah.
No, see, it's resting on the top. It's trying to drop.
Oh, okay, I see.
See, it wants to go up, so it stops. So that's a permanent release arm. When you release it, the thing will drop 2 to 3 feet per second, hit the ground and stay down. Let's take a look at some other things. We see some bending on the cantilever arm.
Yeah.
Now, they've obviously refurbished a lot of the treads on this whole fire escape. Right? Just to make it balance. And sometimes they add weight. This is perfect. Because now we're looking at from down here, so we can move on to this one. Can you tell me whether or not those are original or new? Alright, so when I load test that, so you want to see refurbishment or rebolting of the major critical connections, that is all the treads. You see all the treads rebolted. Are you satisfied that all the treads have been rebolted on this fire escape? There's evidence of maintenance, right? You can see it, right? So that means somebody refurbished the tread system. What about training. We're here in Lowell, Massachusetts. We're here with Bob, the building commissioner. And let's take a look at this fire escape that's had many modifications. One modification that I want you to look at, see these suspensions coming down? A lot of times these suspensions are brought down so they can eliminate a lot of these supports so that the trucks can get in and out of here so that they don't smash. But aside from that, more paint than rust or more rust than paint?
Still more rust than paint.
More rust than paint, so that's the first violation. Number two, let's say they painted it knowing you were coming. What else are we looking for? We're looking for the evidence of maintenance. Any hex head bolts in your eye?
From here, it looks like most of it is square head bolts.
Square head bolts. So this is probably 50 to 75 years old or greater, because if it was rivets, it would be greater. Any cement issues, any tears in the walls, especially down here. Okay?
Yeah, I see
and some of the repair, does it look like it was structural repair? It looks like it was veneer repair.
It's hard to tell. It looks like they just repaired the veneer.
Veneer. So it's not tying back in. Some smashes of trucks, looks like it's pushed to the right.
Yeah.
Look at your supports. Original gussets or original hardware?
Yeah, that's original.
All the treads. Original squares?
Original squares, yeah.
Enough rain falling on the fire escape to rot it out a little faster?
Probably, yeah.
Smash of by a truck?
Yeah.
On the ladders? Yeah. Looks like something. So right now, this is, if the owner wishes to, right after he gets the violation, he can have his insurance company, he has to file a police report of a hit and run, and his insurance company will fix 100% of this fire escape, because when I repair it, I cannot just repair that. I must bring it back to operational condition. So they'll fix its structure. They may not paint it, but a lot of times they'll repair it and paint it because the law says you got to bring it back to operational condition. So a lot of times the owner gets a reprieve in that he got the insurance company to pay because I got damage over here, I got damage up there, and it's a hit and run. He just needs to file a police report and submit this to the insurance company. That it was found out after the fact. He didn't know. Now, you got ladders. That ladder's kind of kooky because it kind of blocks. It goes up, but it kind of blocks and comes into the middle. So it looks like somebody modified the ladder going up to the 4th floor. Yeah. I got some obstruction up there with some pots and plants. So all original hardware. Cement looks like it needs work. You need a renovator's license to touch this fire escape, right? Because it's got lead.
Yep.
You need a building permit to touch one of these bolts on this fire escape.
Correct.
So you need to have, you have to be licensed and insured. And this fire escape right now needs to have engineer oversight, because in order to verify the connections into this wall, we're going to either duplicate every support so that you don't have to load test it. That's the only two ways to verify this thing, is load test it or certify repair every connection. And into the building, this is a pretty old structure. Do you want single connections, you know, Hilti bolts, or would you want the unification on this one? Based on the age of the building, what do you think is a better recommendation to the engineer who's going to be doing the oversight? And on this fire escape, it's probably going to be about 5 visits that he's going to need to verify. But you want unification or single duplication of every connection into the wall?
I would prefer unification.
Yeah, it's very easy to unify all of these. Very easy.
Which they did up above, partially.
Yeah.
It looks like.
But I think these were done, those were suspended to pick up this for some reason. This was an unsupported something or other. Or I see this big mess?
Yeah,
in order to do this, and this is a great example. Can you do this and hang off a fire escape? Was this fire escape ever rated? I know it's 100 pounds per square foot. Was it rated 100 pounds per square foot and hold up an AC unit?
No.
So an engineer needs to come in and do a calculated load test on this and reconfigure this so that this system is not adding any more weight to the 100 pounds per square foot. Let's take a look at this one over here. Obviously been smashed by trucks, bends. This is a flop out ladder, and it's open. See? So that's pivoted there, and even if yeah, it's a pivoted ladder, but then they froze it. It doesn't pivot anymore. See, they froze it on both sides. But this is what a pivot one looks like, you know. As you can see, that these things do allow, but if you don't keep those greased, and it's riveted, so how old do you think this fire escape is?
75 plus.
So you got damage, you got obstructions. Let's take a look at now, and again, this is all from the ground. You don't have any binoculars, right?
Right.
So you're looking for evidence of maintenance, which is just some hex heads. You see any?
I don't.
How about your paint situation?
Yeah, it's more rust.
More rust than paint, so you got a deterioration violation here, minimally. And structurally, you know that fire escapes rust from the inside out. So you know every one of these supports is suspect. So the way you'd repair this fire escape is exactly the way you'd repair that fire escape. You want the verification into the wall to be nullified or duplicated, and then everything that's outside the wall, you want all connections 100% free of all rust. And you want any square head bolt reinforced or replaced?
Replaced.
And then painted, right?
And painted.
And that's it. And if you're going to touch this fire escape, you better pull a permit and you better have a renovator's license.
Correct.
That's all you need, right?
That's all you need.
That's all you need. And there's plenty of things to do in Lowell, correct?
Correct.
All right.